Hi, I'm Sophie, and I'm a student in my final year now of communication studies. I when I first started, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Um, in anything really, I didn't know if I wanted to go to college, if I wanted to kind of, do an internship, anything like that. And I came in and did an open day in DCU and happened to sit through the communications talk. It wasn't my plan. I was actually planning to sit through something else and found communications by accident and fell in love with it immediately. So, really interesting, absolutely loved it. But I'm going to tell you a bit about the three kind of media courses that we have in the School of Communications. So, why study at DCU? It's ranked number one in Ireland for graduate employment rate, which is amazing. It's ranked 23rd in the world for graduate employment rate, which is phenomenal. Um, we get hired out straight away most of the time. Anyone I've spoken to who has done my course either last year or the year before, like they get snatched up out of nowhere. It's amazing. There's a real emphasis on actual hands-on learning in DCU where you get to, use the things that you're learning about. You don't just read about it, you actually get to apply it to your studies, which I haven't heard of from anyone else, which is really cool. We get like actual hands-on access in, especially in the School of Communications, you have things like your Mac labs, your radio studios that you actually get to learn to use in person. So it's amazing hands-on experience. We also have three different campus locations. I'm based on Glasnevin campus, but we also have St. Patrick's campus and All Hallows campus. Some media studies like the joint honours that I'll talk about in a few minutes, they can be based over two campuses. It's usually St. Pat's and Glasnevin, but I'm based on Glasnevin full time. So the School of Communications in DCU is ranked number one in Ireland, which is amazing. Um, I believe it was one of the first communication schools established in Ireland, so we're really high up there in the world. A lot of history to do with communications in DCU that I learned about in my orientation. And the DCU School of Communications, it has a tradition stretching back over 40 years. It's really well established in Ireland for the leading centre of communications. And the school is consistently ranked in the top 200 of almost 4,500 universities worldwide in the area of communications, which is really high. It's a really nice number to have under your belt. And when you leave here, there's a lot of competition once you graduate, but it's nice to be able to say that you come from DCU. It's a really good thing to have on your CV that you studied communications in DCU of all places. So there are over 1,000 students from loads of different backgrounds, countries, ages, and there's loads of different pathways into the School of Communications in DCU. There's like a massive alumni network. And especially in DCU, we're really well connected with our alumni from first year. I was put in contact with at least 12 people that had graduated in the past. They were able to talk me through their career choices, what modules they chose. They gave advice. They were able to help me out with like project work that I was doing at the moment. So it's really helpful to be able to talk to them and get connected in the world that I was going out into. It's especially relevant now that I'm graduating next year. Really scary. But it's really nice that I was able to have that kind of connection made with people who had graduated before me. There's loads of household names that have graduated from the School of Communications in DCU. You get BAFTA winners, newsreaders, lots of people in RT have graduated from the DCU School of Communications. I know I get emails weekly from RT saying, "Oh, your past alumni is inviting you to sit in the audience of this thing. You get invited to be in the audience of different shows. You get tours of the RT studios." That was a really big one in first year. That our entire first year class got invited to give a big tour of the DC or the RT studios, and we got a full day there. We got to meet people, got to learn how different things work there. So that was really cool. We often occupy senior positions globally. So as I said, it's really cool to be able to say that you studied communications in DCU. We have a really good reputation out in the world. And it's not just our alumni that are really well established in the world, it's also our educators. So the likes of our lecturers, they're all really well established. I have different lecturers and they're able to stand there and say, well, I didn't just learn about this in a book, I learned about this out in the world. I've worked on this project, I've worked on this set, I've produced this project. And they're able to give you firsthand real world experience and knowledge. And it's not reading from a book or, this is what I've heard, this is what I'm teaching. It's coming from a place of actual real world experience. That's really cool. We have lots of different facilities. You heard me mention earlier about our Mac labs and our radio studios. If you study in the School of Communications, you will get access to our three Mac labs. We also have two PC labs. We have a loans office where you can loan out equipment like cameras, microphones, different things like that, tripods, etc. There's also our newsroom. So it's kind of like a TV studio. You can see a picture of it there, actually. It's got a green screen, it's got the, different facilities, you've got the different kind of media nucleus in behind the screen. And then you've also got our two FM studios. There's also a third one on campus, but that's for outside of your academics. So that's owned by a society and they kind of help back up the stuff that you're learning in the classroom. You can join the Media Production Society and you get to learn more in a fun way and it backs up what you're learning in the classroom. But yeah, there's a lot of facilities that help you learn hands-on experience. You actually get to go in and look at the equipment and learn how to use it rather than reading it in a book, which is much nicer. I much prefer it. So there are four different undergraduate programs in the School of Communications. There's mine, I'm a bit biased, Communication Studies, my favorite. And we also have our BA in Journalism, our BSc in Multimedia, and our Joint Honours in Media Studies. So the way it was explained to me was that journalism is more of a theory-based course. Multimedia is more of a, hands-on actual do it kind of course. And communications is a really nice mix of the theory in journalism and the practicality in multimedia. It's kind of the middleman. And then you have your joint honours where you study something like English and media or history and media, a language of media. So you get to kind of do two in one. So there are different structures and requirements. All of the three core programs are level 8 honours degrees. They're 3 years, the three of them. So journalism, multimedia, and communications, they're 3 years and they're full-time courses. They all have multiple routes of entry. So if you're doing a post, if you're doing a kind of, if you've taken a year out after you're doing your leaving cert, or if you're coming back to education, you can do that. You can come in straight away through the CAO. There's different ways to come through. It's not just you do your leaving cert and you join straight away. They're all modularly structured. So you come in, you have 2 semesters a year, and you'll do different modules each semester. So you get to choose. In first year, you get just your core modules, so everyone does the same one. It's kind of like a base. And then every year after that, you'll have core modules and you'll have optional modules that you'll get to actually choose based on what you're interested in. They all use continuous assessment. So after COVID, it was completely continuous assessment. We've started, especially in my course, to move back towards exams, but it is heavily continuous assessment based. It's all kind of based on project and production work, because as I said, we really do value that hands-on experience. And they all involve a dissertation or a production thesis. So for communications, it's a dissertation. For journalism, it's both. You do a dissertation and production thesis. And for multimedia, it's a production thesis. So my favorite one, the BA in Communication Studies. So as you can see, the CAO points have slowly gone down. When I started in 2023, when I was doing my leaving cert, it was 412, and then when I started, I went down to 400. It's now at 357. So you can kind of go into a load of different careers. What I loved about communications was that it was really open-ended. You can go into anything media-based, or you could come back and do a master's and go into a more niche field. You can do things like public relations, advertising, marketing. Government communications is a really big one at the moment. I know I'd like to go into radio and broadcasting, so that's another one for you as well. And it's all very much based on, you get to have that nice mix of journalism, you get to do that in communications, and you get that really nice practical mix in from multimedia. So it's a nice middleman. If you're not too sure between the two, this one's a really nice one. I know it was for me. And then these are the year breakdowns. So as I said, it's a 3-year course. So in first year, you have your core modules. Everyone does the exact same. And then in year 2, you have your core modules, and then you'll have a choice of 4 different optional modules. So each semester you get one optional module that you can choose from. So they're the likes of the sport, the media and society, there's feminism, there's criminal media as well, all really interesting, and you get to choose those based on your interests. So it's not just a standard run-of-the-mill course, you do get to focus on your interests. And then in year three, which I'm in now, you have your, again, 3 core modules a semester, and then you have a choice of 6 different optional modules, so 1 per semester. And they can be the likes of, you have your one-in module, which is to do with your extracurriculars in DCU, really interesting. You have things like science in media, you have things like race in the media, feminism, TV and drama, stuff like that. And then you, of course, have your core modules that everyone will do, like video production, photography and imaging, audio production. They're the kind of hands-on stuff that everyone will learn across the board. Then you come down to your BA in journalism. This is all kind of theory-based. You get to have careers like news reporter, public sector, NGOs are a really big one. Copywriting. Copywriting is the big one on the rise at the moment for journalism students. And as you can see, the CAO points are going down a little bit, but at the moment, they're 389 points for a BA in journalism. Again, you have your 3-year breakdown. So you have your core modules in first year that everyone will do. And then in second year, you'll again have some core modules, and then you'll have your optional modules, and they're the same optional modules that will be shared across multimedia and communications. And then again, in third year, you'll have your core modules, and then you'll have your optional modules again, which you do share mostly with communication students. And then you'll have things like your project and your dissertation modules, which are core modules. In journalism, as I said earlier, you do have to do both the production pieces and the dissertation. So you have both. And then our third kind of core School of Communications course is multimedia. This is completely practical based, and you can go into careers like video editing, production, you can go into interface design, game development. That's the one that most people are talking about at the moment, heading into. The CAO points are again on the decline. So at the moment, they're 387 points for the CAO. And all of those 3 core modules, you have to have a H4 in English to get into. Again, it's the same. So you have year 1, your core modules, everyone does the exact same one. In year 1, it's mostly about creating a base knowledge that everyone shares. You're coming in completely fresh. It's presumed that you don't know anything about it at all. So everyone gets that kind of introduction course. Then in year 2, you have your core modules and your optional modules. They be instructional design. Instructional design is core module. You have your media spaces, advanced video, and then you have your optional modules. You have in third year your core and your optional. You'll do your press and PR. That's an optional module. Major production project is your big one at the end. You'll get to make a video. You'll get to make a big presentation. So instead of doing a dissertation, you do this instead. Now, so onto the postgraduate program. So if you graduate in DCU, a lot of people from the School of Communications will choose to come back and do a master's so they can focus on a special niche. So these can be like documentary practice, journalism, science and health communications, emerging media. A lot of people will choose to kind of go out into the world after they graduate, get a bit of experience, and then come back and do a master's, figure out what they liked most about the field. Because as I said, these 3 courses in the School of Communications, they're quite broad. You could literally go into anything, which is what I like most about it. So it's kind of nice for graduates to go out, figure out what they like the most, and then come back and study on that. I kind of rushed through that because I think the most important bit is the questions. I know when I was studying, the big thing I wanted to know was I wanted to be able to ask students. So if anyone has any questions, the chat function is down at the bottom. If anyone would like to ask any questions.
Thank you so much, Sophie. Such an interesting presentation, especially across 3 different programs. But as you indicated there, there's a lot of common threads throughout them. So
Yeah.
it's really up to the students themselves to look deeply at those course modules. And I'd always advise kind of having a pros and cons list and mark them out for each program. And that's really how you're going to find out what you'd like. We do have a question there. I'm not sure if you can see it in the Q&A. It might be more something in my wheelhouse as part of the recruitment team, because people are asking about dcu.ie places, so PLC places reserved for students coming through? The answer is yes. For each of these 3 programs, we have PLC spaces available. The general rule of thumb is it's up to 10% of the course places are available for PLC students. So if a course in DCU has 60 people on the program, you're looking at up to 6 people a year coming into first year via a PLC. Now, we don't tell you exactly what PLC to do. A great way to find out is by typing the course code into the CAO website, and you can actually generate a list of PLC subjects that you would need to do to be eligible to transfer into DCU. So it can look a little bit complicated, but many students go through the PLC route every year. Sophie, how many people roughly are in your class or in your year, let's say, for communication studies right now?
Yeah, so we started out with 75 in our group in first year. So I think there was 7 PLC students that were in our course in first year.
Mm-hmm. Very good. And someone else has asked about the timetable. So would you be able to give, and I know it's different every week, but roughly how many days and hours are you talking?
Yeah, so it's really nice. We normally have 3 to 4 days a week, depending on which optional modules you chose. They do get spread out. So if at the moment I have 4 days a week on campus, some of my friends only have 2 or 3. So it really does depend on your optional modules. It's quite a low impact course where you'll spend most of your time kind of doing your projects and stuff like that. So you won't be on campus as much. You'll have at most 3 lectures a day, and they'll be spread out evenly enough. It's usually 1 lecture a day over the 4 days. And then, as you were saying earlier, have a look at your optional modules. There is a, change of mind period. I know at the moment I'm trying each of the optional modules for semester 2 to kind of figure out which one I like the most before I fully decide.
That's brilliant. And it was great for you to mention as well, Sophie, the postgrad options, because obviously, people will find that they're interested in an area during their college course and they'd love to learn even more about it. So there's always further study options available again. Sophie, thank you so much for that.
Good afternoon and good evening to everybody. My name is Vincent Sinclair. I'm a 3rd-year student on the BA in Applied Languages and Translation Studies here in DCU, code DC155. Okay, so let's have a look at this course. What I'm going to do is walk you through what the course looks like, then the elements of the course, the sort of things that you will study. Then we'll look at some of the career opportunities and the paths that people follow after this course. And then we'll open it up for questions and answers. So first off, it is an NFQ Level 8 honours degree. It's 3 or 4 years, depending on whether you take the 4th year, which is an optional, which you can either spend studying abroad or working a paid placement here in Ireland. And the objective of this course is to make you proficient in languages, cultures, digital literacies, and translation. So, thinking about this course, first of all, first question you might ask yourself is, what are the things you're going to study? So you will study 2 languages, and there are 5 options here in DCU. There is the French, the German, the Spanish, the Japanese, and the Chinese. You will study translation. The whole process is around translation. You will also look at linguistics and culture and literature. So it's not just about the languages, it's about the whole understanding the Spanish way of life, the culture, the politics, the history, the cinema, the books, the literature. Similarly, for French and Chinese, it's not just about the language, it's understanding how those cultures and how those societies communicate and how they behave. What are their norms? What are their expectations? In year 2, we continue on with 2 foreign languages. We also then get into the technical aspects of translation, which is very important in the modern world around computers and translation. And I have to say here in DCU, they are absolutely brilliant at using the most up-to-date computers and translation tools. Also, we're doing lots of studies related to AI, because AI will really make translators even more valuable than they are today. So in fact, even this afternoon, I had a course related directly to artificial intelligence and the use of AI in terms of translation. We look at textual studies, terminology, literature, and cinema. So it's really about the whole, not the languages, but the whole way of life in those societies. In year 3, we do 2 foreign languages, or you can choose to specialize in one, but most people tend to stay with 2 languages. We do things as specialized translation. So, for example, I have done translation in economics. This morning or yesterday, I started an option module, which is translation to do with science and technology. We do multimedia translation like dubbing, subtitling, audio, soundscaping, all those sort of things. We look at translation theory. We look at interpreting. So then that's one of the modules I'll be doing, interpreting in real time, and language and professional settings. How do you integrate your knowledge of language and translation in a professional setting? And lastly, we have to do a research dissertation. Year 4 can either be an intra-year working here in Ireland for a year, or else you can study abroad. If you're doing French, you will end up going to France. If you go doing German, you will end up going to Germany or to Switzerland. In fact, you also can do French in Switzerland. For Spanish, you can do it in Spain or Mexico, or in obviously Chinese would be China and Japan would be Japanese. And that's a year abroad studying in a foreign university. So those are the sort of things that you will actually study. Now, why choose ALS? Well, first of all, I'm going to give you my very personal experience. I did a lot of research on all of the different languages courses in Dublin before I chose this course. And bear in mind, I'm a 3rd-year student. And first of all, DCU is the #1 ranked in Ireland for languages. Okay. Secondly, in the world, in terms of translation, okay, it is #2. So it is ahead of places like Berkeley and Stanford University and all the American universities. DCU is actually second in the world and ahead of all them in terms of translation. So very prestigious, both not only within Ireland, but internationally, it's really recognized as the place for translation. I also looked at the course. It's very practical, real world practical. So we don't just have classes. We get up and have debates in the foreign languages. We have to do videos in the foreign languages. We have to do presentations. We have to have arguments in the foreign languages. It's all about communications in a very practical, interesting, fun way, but learning to help you stand up and communicate in those languages. And also a critical thing for me when I did research on this is the class sizes are small. Most of my classes are like 15, 20 would be a big class. So the whole approach is small class size, very close to the lecturers, hands-on, good communications, and incredibly supportive staff. So that's what I had done as just my personal research about why I chose this course. In terms of the course itself, let me just see if I can get rid of this. Yeah, what you do is you immerse yourself in the languages and cultures. It's not just the grammar. It's really about exploring the society. So I had to study, for example, Spanish culture, Spanish politics. We looked at all of the politics around, for example, the War of Independence in Spain. We looked at South America. We looked at French history, French culture. We look at French cinema. It's all around how you work with those cultures and how you communicate and how you can interact with those cultures in a professional setting. So it's a deep cultural understanding aside from just the linguistic part of it. So that is one piece of it, okay? And then the second part of it is you really master the languages and the technology. So we train just to be real translators, both at a technical level, but also in terms of culture and communications. And I will absolutely say this because there is a myth out there that AI will replace translators. It is quite the opposite. It is actually making the translators incredibly more valuable. And in today's world, the importance of communications and accurate communications between different cultures is becoming, as we can see in the news today, more and more important. One of the unique points here, as said, is that the University of Dublin here, DCU, is #2 in the world in terms of the institutional rankings for the whole topic of translation and translation studies. And all of that is, I would say, based on the fact that our lecturers are deep in the industry. They're not academics, sort of stuck in a university. A number of them actually run their own companies in translation. Some of our lecturers are guest lecturers who are professional practitioners with their own companies, and then they get invited in to do certain modules. It's very much the whole course is connected to the real world of translation and communications and intercultural studies. Careers. So what about careers? It's not just about translation. About 40% of our graduates become translators. Others work in a lot of other fields like consulting, marketing, international business, education, public institutions, international institutions like the UN, in the EU. We have a number of people working in Japan in finance, organization, arts and entertainment. And the sort of things that people do are like business development, localization expert, project managers, marketing advisors, translators, for sure, intercultural mediators, all sorts of jobs. So about 40% of graduates actually become translators, pure translators, but many people sort of go into many diverse roles, very interesting roles where their knowledge of language and culture and communications and being able to mediate between different teams or different groups is really, really useful. So that's in terms of what the career opportunities. The one thing I would add to this is that in any job, so this, I say this to all the folks who are listening from CAO and moving aside slightly from the applied languages program, if you're studying something else and you have the opportunity to include a language element as part of that. So if you're going to do law and you can do law in French, or you can do business in French, or whatever it happens to be, I would really encourage you to include a language element, because that whole aspect of being able to communicate, whether you're going to be a doctor or a dentist or a solicitor or a product manager, all of those jobs, core to them is good communications, and particularly if for certainly in business and international business, communications across languages and cultures. So I would really encourage you, even if you don't choose the applied languages course, if you have the option to do a language, I would really encourage you to do that. So that's a little bit about the course, the contents, the careers, why I chose this course, the sort of things you see. It's absolutely, I will tell you this without doubt, it is great fun. I enjoy it immensely. We've done all sorts of projects. We have to do videos. We have to produce things for multimedia. We have to do dubbing. We have to do audios, descriptions, all sorts of things. It is a hands-on course. It is absolutely great fun, and it's an incredibly good basis for a career in communications, in the world of multilingualism, multilanguages, and multiculturalism. So let me say, apply the skills. We have people like in European Silicon Valley. Ireland has one advantage, and I actually know this from my own background, which was in telecommunications. Ireland has a huge advantage in the world. A, we're native English speakers. B, we're in the right time zone. And B, we're inside the EU. All of that leads to the fact that we have a huge localization business here in terms of films, multimedia. It's a huge industry here in Ireland, and there's a lot of opportunity there for linguistic students to go into that huge area. Translation studies, financial, technical, legal, medical. I've seen that. In fact, we're actually already doing studies on how to do translation for medical and also scientific. The whole area of media content, film, TV, subtitling, dubbing. A big area coming up now is audio descriptions for the deaf and the hard of hearing. So there is such a huge demand there. So there are lots of different areas that people go into from the applied languages course here in DCU. So I hope that gives you a little bit of an overview of what the course is, what the contents are, how it actually looks. We have typically, I have about 12, 13 hours of study per week, or of classes. And then on top of that, I probably need another 12, 15 hours to do the assignments. It's a lot of continuous assessment, and sort of, there are exams at the end, but mainly it's continuous assessment. So no big bang. And the one thing I would say here is, from my experience, and I've studied in a number of universities here in Ireland, DCU, the lecturers are just so supportive. Nobody gets left behind. Everybody is helped along the way. And I've seen this with students who have been struggling with certain aspects, and the support they've got from the lecturers is just second to none. So, Sinead, that's a little bit, I'd say. Thank you, merci, danke, mil gracias, grev mahagut, and let's open it up for questions.
Vincent, thank you so much. You clearly have a way with words and an interest in languages, because that was so succinct and down to the second. It was absolutely perfect. I like to just kind of jot notes while people are chatting. I really love that you mentioned the whole AI element of things, because we do get that question a lot, like, what's the point in even learning it if I can just ask ChatGPT to tell me, and it's just so true that it's actually going to make your job more important to make sure everything is correct and accurate.
Right.
And I love, yeah,
Could I just say on that point, I have to fess up here. So I'm actually an electronic and software engineer for 45 years. So I
yeah.
came from the world of AI. I know AI, and I used AI, and I can see exactly how it is going to evolve and how people with linguistic skills and knowledge
Yeah,
of technical are going to be so in demand. I mean, I can really see it because that's my background.
absolutely. And to add to your point there about differing careers, again, a lot of people go, well, what can I do if I know two or three languages? Like, am I going to be just a translator? But as you said, you can work in marketing, you can work in government policy, you can do
Absolutely.
a regular job, but in a country that you want to live in, and knowing the language is going to benefit you, as you said, it's going to immerse you in the culture. So thank you so much, Gurmagat, for the presentation.
Okay, right. Hi, everybody. I'm Kate. Thanks so much for having me, and you're all very welcome here this evening. So I'm a fourth year social sciences and cultural innovation student. So we Bachelor of, so we call it busy. And yeah, I'm in fourth year, and that feeling of, oh my God, I can't believe I'm like going into the big bad world. That doesn't go away when you're finished in sixth year. I feel like that now. But it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing at all. So I'm going to give you a rundown of our lovely, interesting, interactive, challenging and enriching course. So first of all, the name. So social sciences and cultural innovation. I feel like it's very important to define what that actually means, because I cannot tell you the amount of times someone's been like, oh, what are you studying? And I say social sciences and cultural innovation, and they look at me like I've got 10 heads. So I do understand that it's a little bit like, oh, what does that mean? So social sciences is essentially the study of what it is to be human and live in the world and everything that comes with it, like society, behavior, relationships, how people in different groups interact and why, and the forming of like and functioning of political institutions and how all of this influences the world. So I will go into what that actually means in a practical sense in a second, but so that is what social sciences is. And then cultural innovation, which to me, this is the part of it that like sets it apart from other courses. No offense to any other courses, these are all great. Oh my God, Vincent, I could listen to you all day. But I think this is the part that makes it really, really attractive in a forward thinking, progressive, kind of career driven way. So cultural innovation is basically taking the culture that you already have in your society's makeup and integrating new practices, ideas, and thought processes into it. So you're essentially improving and modernizing the culture that you already have. And this aspect of the course is really valuable because it forces you to build critical thinking skills. It forces you to be creative and encourages you to take an active role in the progression of your society. So yeah. So what does that look like on a day to day? So that was a description. So basically, so BS Busy is a 3-year course with an optional year to make it 4. So that can be intra or Erasmus. There is 3 strands to the course, right? So there is culture, media, and politics, to put them simply. Culture is the School of Applied Languages and Intercultural Studies. So that's the same group that ALTS is in. School of Communications, and then School of Law and Government. In first year, you do all of them. So you have kind of a taster of everything. And then second year, you have some options. So you can take bits and bobs from each. And then third year, you pick one of the strands to major in. And then there is some core modules in it that everybody does regardless of strand. But then the rest of it, you pick whatever you want. So yes, so the moral of the story, I suppose, with Busy is that you have a huge amount of flexibility. It's very malleable degree. It can be whatever you want. Yeah, so examples of assignments and assessments. So that's great and all, me telling you that it's like fantastic, but like what does that actually mean for you if you were to do this for 4 years? So modules wise, oh, hang on, sorry, the lights are going in this room. Give me one sec. So module and assignments wise, it's very, very broad. So we have some examples there: analysing visual media text, Ireland sex and text, social class and media, contemporary cultural debates, intelligence, national security, crime policing in the media. They're all examples of what you could study. And the little picture you have there of semester 1 is the module titles for the first semester in first year. So as you can see there, para self society, interculturalism and practice. And the majority of assessments are in essay or written format or presentations. There's a good few creative assignments, like for example, this semester, last semester, one of my modules was creativity in the emerging future, and we had to do a 5-minute creative video on a topic of our choosing. So me and my pals did nightlife. So we had to do an example of what it was like in the past, what's it like now, and how would you innovate it for the future. But you had to do quite a lot of multimedia work to do that. So that's an example of one of the assignments that you might have. Now in my 4 years, or going on 4 years, I've never had a sit-down exam in busy. I've had a few in-class tests, I've had a few essays that you have to write, but you get a lot of prep with them. So now that is not to say that that might not change, but in general, the lectures and the modules that you will have in social sciences and cultural innovation are focused on continuous assessment, and the assignments give you a lot of freedom, option of topics, and freedom to express your opinion. And the great thing about busy, in my opinion, is that this course wants you to say what you think. It doesn't want you to rote learn. It doesn't want you to have to adhere to any kind of really, really strict rules. It's very, very unique in how broad it is. So I'm only one person who studies social sciences. There is many, many more. So I got a few of their opinions for you, just so you know. It's not just me, I promise, who thinks all this. So some of my pals said it's super unique in how broad it is. If you're interested in a lot of different areas and want to keep your career options open, it enriches the way that you see the world, gives you a chance to understand the political climate we read about in the news every day, which is a really good point actually, because a huge amount of busy is making really not really difficult, but more complicated topics accessible and for you to have discussion about them, which is the basis of many, many of the modules. The course broadens your horizon by focusing on various aspects which influence us, such as politics and media, but through a critical cultural lens. So loads of room for expression, loads of room for opinions, loads of room for debate. So if you're someone who likes to talk, this is course for you. So Erasmus and Intra, so this is the optional year that you can do. So I did Intra, which I actually think is one of the more valuable things I can tell you about, because it really is an example of what social sciences and cultural innovation can do for you. So I did mine with Gaeilge, which is an Irish language organisation, who basically, a lot of their work is about creating opportunities for people to engage with Irish language in no matter what capacity that you have the language. And it's a year-long placement, and it was, I have to say, one of the best things I have ever done. So as a result, when I started in Gaeilge, I was not fluent in Irish. I was not. You want to see me staring at people trying to understand them for the first few months. And now I am fluent in Irish. I still work there part-time as communications and administrations executive. I teach a Bunwrong, you can see it there. So beginners Irish for adults. And I developed lots of social media and graphic design skills when I was working for Gaeilge. So the picture you see on the left there is of the CrossFit. That's my gym, and I manage the social media for it, and I get paid to do that. So a lot of them posts that you see there, I would have designed, and I curate the page, I plan out the content. The bottom right there is a picture from an aqua ceilidh. So that is what it says in the tin. It is a ceilidh in the water. And I organise that between Gaeilge and the pool that I work in part-time. So that is an example of cultural innovation there. And then the top right is me. I'd say you're like, what is she doing? I do a certificate in sports coach development with Sport and Swim Ireland. So I'm training to be a facilitator of learning how to be basically be able to teach people how to be swimming teachers, which requires a lot of transferable skills such as presenting, facilitating, communication, being open to different opinions, being open to different types of people. So basically all of that you see here, all of that positive career progression that I've had, I would not have had any of it if I didn't do social sciences and cultural innovation, because it gave me a very broad base to develop them skills and develop my interests. And if I didn't have that course, I don't think any of that will be happening. Oh, sorry. And also Erasmus, I'm sorry, I did not do it, but it is I think it's about a 9-month placement. There's options for Malta, Vilnius in Lithuania, Lyon in France. I know a girl who went to Australia to do it as well. There's like I didn't do it myself, so I don't have as much experience, but what's not to like? You're living in a foreign city, you're immersing yourself in different culture. And one thing to know about Erasmus, if you were considering doing it, it is based on your grades for first and second year. So that's the criteria that they use to give people their places or their preferences. And if you have any more questions about it, please do email me. My email's at the end. So what makes this course unique? There is limited places to promote inclusion and belonging. So similar to what Vincent said about ALTS, is that we have generally quite small class sizes, and they actually tend to get smaller as time goes on. So you would have had bigger lectures in maybe first year, but now if I am entering into a room with more than 30 people, we're like, whoa, like what's going on? So that's really great because it facilitates discussion. It's much easier to talk and it's easier to get to know people. Innovative applied modules, that's very true. They're always interesting. They're always interesting. They will always challenge you. Combine sociology, intercultural studies, media, and politics. And includes both. I talked about intra and year abroad already. That's grand. So, in conclusion, key message here is that if you want to do a course that challenges you, forces you to grow, enriches the way you see the world, and maybe you might not be sure exactly what that looks like in a career sense yet, Busy would be great for you. And I personally did not know what that looked like in September 2022. And now I'm quite sure I want to go into Irish language and cultural promotion as well as media and journalism, which would never have really been on my radar back then. If you're a curious person, if you have opinions, if you like to talk, if you like to understand, this is a great course. And it also, I think a really important part of it is that it prepares you to function in the workplace as a creative thinker, as someone who can adapt and find solutions quickly to problems, no matter what career you choose. And there's really transferable, valuable power in that. And my apologies, I'm so over time, but thank you so much. And if you have any questions, that's my email there. And I know we're doing Q&A now. So thank you.
Hey, thank you so much. We would far prefer to be overtime than you have to have nothing to say. That would be awkward for everybody. Thank you so much. I never thought I'd hear the term aqua Gaeilge within a presentation, but that's amazing. Like I've just learned something new on this call today.
Thank you.
It's a really interesting program, and I do think it's one that is like misunderstood in a way. And people aren't really sure what it's all about. But you've after given a really, really good overview of the program.
Thank you.
And it's great, as you said, if you're not really sure what you want to do, our advice generally is pick something broad, and this course is broad. Don't pigeonhole yourself if you're not sure that that's the thing you want to do. You might not know the answer to this because there's no real right or wrong answer, but someone in the Q&A has asked, would this be a good course for a future Garda? If so, what might be the career advancements in the Garda with this degree? I guess, we're not the experts on exactly what you'd need to do and how to train to get into the Guards, but from the sounds of it, I feel like it would be, because you're learning about how people interact with one another. You're learning about different cultures, the things that the Guards need to know about and interact with different people every day. So I would say yes.
Yeah, I would agree. It gives you quite a broad base for understanding. I would say particularly like why people act the way they do as well. I think it really builds a sense of they call it here, like you hear a lot of the term intercultural competence, and to be able to interact with people from different cultures. But honestly, for me, that actually is a fancier way of saying having empathy and a bit of understanding. And there's also a module called that I really enjoyed, crime policing in the media. So it talks a lot about how the crime and police force might have been corrupt back in the day and how it's progressed since. So I actually wouldn't say, I'd say it's very relevant to being in Guard. Yeah.
Me too. So that's a great question. Thank you.
The Bachelor of Arts Joint Honours Programme, these are all the course codes as I go through the courses, and the course codes will be on the list as well. So I'm not going to explain them out now. So for studying arts, it's 2 subjects that you study in this course. So it will be anything from law, politics, media studies, philosophy, and the arts. And you will gain a load of knowledge like critical thinking skills, research skills, your presentation skills, communication skills, and language skills, which will really help you in the world of work outside of college as well. So the course is 3 years long, and for all the joint honours degrees, there is an optional 4th year. So instead of going straight into your 3rd year, you can do an Erasmus. And so you can go abroad for a year, and study abroad, or you can do an intra placement, which is an integrated placement. So for your intra placement, you can go to a business, or you can go into whatever career sector that you are wanting to work in, and you can work for up to 12 months. Some intra placements are paid, but it just depends on where you're going. DCU are really great at offering like support services and like guiding you through that process. I'm currently in my second year, so I'm in the debate at the moment of whether I want to go on and do an Erasmus or go on and do an intra, or if I want to just go straight into my third year. But yeah, they are really good at giving guidance and stuff like that. So the faculty locations, so if you can see the big red circle at the top, that's the Glasnevin campus. So for subjects such as media studies and politics, law, they'll all be on the Glasnevin campus. And the St. Pat's campus, which is in the red circle in the middle. St. Pat's campus would be more so the art programs, so like history, geography, music, anything that's more like that you could do as a leaving cert subject basically would be on St. Pat's campus. And then there's All Hallows campus beside it, which is also used for the arts sometimes. But it's a very smaller college, and you normally worry about that in second year anyways, but you'll get to know the campuses. For the Glasnevin campus on the St. Pat's campus, it's about a 30-minute walk, so it's really not that bad. There is buses that go to it, and the buses that go between both campuses are the 44 and the 19, and they come pretty often. So, if it was a rainy day and you didn't want to walk, you can always get the bus. So these are your course points that you'd need. As of 2024, obviously with the bell curve, it can go up, it can go down. I'd say try not to stress too much on the points. There are certain course requirements for certain subjects, so I'd say just try focus on them instead, and everything else will just fall into place. But these are the different course points that you need for the different areas to go into. So your course requirements, so if you were wanting to study media studies, you do need a H4 in English. For Irish, you would need a H4 or an O1. For French, you would need a H4. For German, a H4. And for Spanish, a H4 in the subjects relevant to it. And also for music, you would need to do an advisory test, but you don't need to worry about that until after registration. So these are an overview of all the subjects that the Joint Honours Programme offer in total. So if the subjects are on the same line, such as human development and philosophy, you can't do them as a combination. For history and music, you can also not do them together, and geography and theology, you cannot do them together. But everything else, you can more or less mix and match. Now, this looks really confusing, but these are the courses spread out and laid out easier. So if you want to study English, let's say, you can go to the English column, and if you go to the one at the top and you go straight down, those are all the courses that you can study along with English. So you could do English and Irish, English and geography, English and history, and English and human. If you wanted to do English and human development, let's say, you'd go down to English and human development and you'd see it's dcu.ie, and then that was the course you want to study. And this is online if you want to go have a look later to yourself, where you can like really sit down, think about it, and try figure out where everything is. So Humanities dcu.ie. So this is the course that I'm studying. These are your subjects that you can pick between: English, Irish, human development, philosophy, history, music, geography, and world religions. You cannot do human development and philosophy together. You can't do history and music together, and you can't do geography and world religions together. I do history and human development. For human development, I had no idea what it was as I was picking it. But it's psychology, sociology, and philosophy all in one degree. It does sound like a lot, but it is really, really manageable. For this degree as well, you'd probably be in about 10, 15 hours a week. So unlike some full-time courses, it's a lot easier to manage, especially if you wanted to work or wanted to study, but you are expected to do probably about 120 hours of outside class study for it. And for this course as well, it's really good if you wanted to go the back in history in English or geography in English or whatever it may be, and they want to do secondary school teaching after. So to do that, you'd get your degree, and it could be 3, 4 years, and then you do your master's in education. Or some people would study Irish and human development, and they would go into primary school teaching and do a master's in primary school teaching after they've finished this course. So media studies, which is DC 291. So media studies, you can is when you focus on the media studies, and you can do English in international language like French, German, or Spanish, or politics with it. Media studies is good if you would want to go into working on the backgrounds of things. You could go working in like a business and work in their like social media or communications, and it's very good in that sense. And those are your combinations that you can do it with. For law, which is DC 292, you can do law along with history and international language, French or German or Spanish, or you can do media studies with law as well. For the law course, this course will not. This is for if you want to be a solicitor. If you want to do barrister, you are better off doing the BCL course, which I'm sure is all online anyways. But just so you know, in case you pick this course thinking that you can go be a barrister, it's not recognised, but you can be a solicitor with this one. The international languages course, which is DC 293. So for international, you can study French or German or Spanish. So if you wanted to do French, you can study with Irish and politics. German, you can study with Irish and politics, or Spanish, you can study with Irish and politics. And all languages are taught at an intermediate level, and so you do have to have some basic knowledge and stuff like that. For this course as well, it's really good if you wanted to go, let's say, if you wanted to do politics in German or politics in Spanish, and you wanted to work in the EU Parliament, or if you wanted to do translation after college, which is all future stuff to focus on, but just focus on what course you want to do at the moment. Politics, which is DC 295. So for politics, you can study with history, law, world religion and theology, or geography. And again, it's a really nice course because it's pretty broad. And if you want to do politics, politics ties in with all of the subjects that you can study it with. And it's just a really nice one to your degree. And it kind of gives you a little bit of time. Same with all of the joint honours courses, they are all pretty broad, and it gives you a little bit more space to be more free and have a bit more option after college. So the Bachelor of Arts joint honours, so with an opportunity to gain an in-depth knowledge and understanding of a particular academic discipline. This degree will prepare you for a variety of careers while also providing a solid foundation for further study at postgraduate level. So if you were wanting to do a master's onwards, and there's so many master opportunities in humanities and social sciences or in the Bachelor of Arts joint honours programme, but your master's is not something that you need to focus on right now, and of course you just focus on your course. Thank you so much.
Niamh, thank you so much for that presentation. It's as I said, probably the biggest course technically in DCU. There's a lot to get through with a lot of different areas. What's good as well for people to know is that obviously you don't have to tell us now what subjects you want to do. If you know that you want to do law and another subject, as long as you put that code on your CAO, you won't specifically register your subjects until September. So it gives you time to think about exactly what you want to do if you are torn.
Yeah, hi everyone. As Sinead says, my name is Hugh. I'm a final year international relations student here in DCU. I've been here for 4 years now. As I'll talk about a bit later, we can do a 3 or 4 year combination of your course, because you may have heard of our intro program. So I elected to do the intro program, but a lot of my friends chose Erasmus too. So I'll talk a bit about that. But first, just a brief overview of the overall School of Law and Government. So we have 48 academic staff. We have an innovative teaching structure. So that will mix between classroom discussions, classroom debates, all the way to different types of assessment. So you'll have your traditional exams, but you'll also have group projects, video presentations, and stuff along that line. Or class participation is a big award as well. So staff make research-informed contributions to policy, media, and etc. So I think one of the cool things I've seen is a lot of my lectures I've seen on RT News have contributed to, like you see, Professor Gary Murphy here has contributed to the Citizens Assembly. I've seen them on RT News. So that's a really cool part. And they often bring a lot of their real world experiences into the classroom. So this is my course. So this is my time so far. So as you can see up the top has been a bit of my group work. So we did an Introduction to Terrorism module in second year, which was really, really interesting and really unique because it explored kind of an area I was a small bit aware, but became deeply aware over a longer period of time. And then in third year, I was out on intra-placement in Enterprise Ireland. So I worked in our strategy and policy department, applying my learnings from class. So for example, we were doing work on US tariffs. So I could apply learnings I had in the classroom, debates I had, things I'd learned from assignments, from readings, etc. And then I've been involved in a lot of college societies and as a EU Student Careers Ambassador. So as you can see in the bottom right here, I had the opportunity to travel to Brussels for an event, or training weekend with them. So that was a really good opportunity to network with people who were of the same age group as me, but from really a lot of different backgrounds. And these opportunities will, when you come to DCU, are something that really pops up regularly. And that's one of the things what I love about DCU, and I would encourage people to consider, because there's a lot of opportunities within your course, obviously, but outside it as well. So the BA in International Relations is the only program of its kind in Ireland. It's a leading program. So it's knowledge-based. So you are founding your learnings in books and reports and journal articles. And then it's practice-oriented learning. So what does that mean? It means classroom debates. It means classroom discussions. And then simulations as well. Some of you might have heard of a Model UN. So we do a lot of that in class and with college societies as well. And then there's an optional 12-month paid internship. So in DCU, we call that Intra, which is just integrated training. So I did mine with Enterprise Ireland, or you can go to any of our partner universities across the continent, and you'll be able to learn there. So why study international relations? So why I chose to study this was, when I was younger, I was always interested in reading the newspaper and watching the news with my dad and with my grandmother. And then I wanted to find a degree that focused on that and gave me a more foundational understanding in concepts related to international relations, so I could try build a career in the kind of diplomat, current affairs type of space. And this is the course that's really, really given me those great opportunities. So it helps me understand the complexities of global affairs. There's a range of different concepts and lenses to understand different behaviors. You have some of them on the slide there. So I think it's important to note that year to year, the partner universities for Erasmus option do change, but these are some of the universities that are more consistently available to students. And I know I have a lot of friends who went to Berlin, to Spain, and raved about the experience, people they met, the classes they attended, and the networks they built across the university. So these are some of our modules. Politics of climate change was one of my favorite modules from first year. It was really, really fun. It was very interactive. And then American politics. So there's an introduction to American politics course in first year. And then we move on to issues in the Supreme Court and in American politics in final year. And that's a bit more specific, but equally as interesting as what they were in first year. So course details. So these are kind of the nuts and bolts of the course. So it's 3 or 4 years. A lot of students might choose to do the 3-year course and then go on to do a postgraduate study afterwards. So there's 2 main streams, the main IR stream and the language stream, which I'll talk about in the next slide. And then you can see on the CAO points on the right-hand side, they tend to fluctuate between kind of 370 and 410 as well. So the language stream. So I think it's important to note from speaking to students, the language is hard, but it's certainly not overwhelming, and it's certainly not impossible. You know, there's a lot of different language societies in DCU. So you have the French Society, you have the German Society, and they help you out as well. And then all the lectures are really amazing, because they understand that for a lot of people, English or Irish would be your native tongue, and learning another European language can be challenging. But I definitely speak from experience that the supports they show you and the encouragement they show you can really help you grow in the language and make the course in doing a language really achievable. So I would definitely consider studying a language. And then careers, I spoke about this a tiny bit earlier. So you have careers in national government, international organizations, and NGOs, and then you could be a political analyst or a researcher as well. So over the course of 4 years, you'll be able to see what you like, what you don't like. So moving on to EPL. So our EPL course is a really cool course because it gives you a broad base in 3 subjects that kind of complement each other. So if people are interested in news, they'd often always see maybe issues relating to law or economics discussed in politics. So this is a really, really cool course. Similar to international relations and all the courses in law and government, it is practice-based learning. So it's discussions in classes, group projects, and then you're allowed to specialize in final year. So, for example, if you have a broad interest in these 3 subjects, I definitely consider this course, because as you go through the first 2 years of the course, you might see, oh, I'm really, really interested in politics. So you'll be able to pick modules that help you specialize in that in your final year. And then like IR, you can go on Erasmus or DCU's intro program in 3rd year. So these are some of the modules in year 1 and year 2. And again, these are a combination of assessed through exams, group work, or assignments like an essay as well. And then some from final year. I think jurisprudence is something that's really interesting. At a very simplistic analysis, kind of the moral debates that come with law. Does law work for some people? Does the law work for, or not work really well for another person? And then optional year, so there's the intro placement. You can do it in year 3. So it's 12 months. A lot of students actually from the EPL course went to Enterprise Ireland with me, and they just worked in different departments as well. So I got to meet a lot of them and made a lot of friends in that course through my internship placement, and it is paid as well, which is a nice bonus. And then, like I mentioned, it's 3 or 4 years. You have a possibility of year abroad in 3rd year or an internship. And on the right-hand side, you can see the CEO points. They fluctuate a small bit there, but they're usually around the 450, 460 mark. And then careers. So it really opens a really broad range of careers, especially in consulting. I know a lot of students have been able to gain graduate placements based on their course, because it's really giving you a specific understanding in 3 really important topics, especially as the world is how it is now. And then this unique program is giving students really core skills that maximize their employability. Like group work, you'll be able to enhance your communication, your group presentation, your class presentation, and really your confidence as well. So it's a really, really cool course. And now moving on to our BCL. So this is the most law-specific course. So it's a really unique approach in Ireland to study law, and that's why it's kind of exams. But we also have our moot court here in DCU, which I'll speak about a little bit earlier. And you're understanding not only what law is, but how it actually operates in society. How does law affect me, for example, or affect someone maybe in America? And how those debates kind of unfold, and you'll be able to discuss those in class with your lecturer if you choose to do this program. And then it intersects with other issues. This goes a small bit back to our EPL course, but these are really complex debates that happen within the law and government school. And they're really, really fun. They're really, really interesting. And it makes going to class and going to school and doing your assignments really exciting, which might be a bit of a change if you're doing the traditional leaving cert, which when you're studying subjects you're not really that interested in. This is why college is a really exciting time in your life. So this is a law degree. It's recognized by the King's Inn. It's focused on experiential learning and practical legal education. So it's a combination of both. You're in the moot court, you're learning things, but you're also learning your key terms, learning your key concepts, and then transferable skills are really, really important part of what employers today really want. They want you to be able to switch between different departments, different functions in their organization, and these courses really give you those opportunities. So critical analysis, if a piece of a law or a test comes across your desk, can you critically analyze it? Is there good points? Is there bad points? Etc. And then your oral and written communication skills will continuously enhance throughout your course. Something I've noticed, your confidence and your skills kind of build without you knowing, and that's a really, really cool part of it as well. And then once again, there's an interplacement or an Erasmus opportunity with this course. So the modules within BCL, they cover all the core modules for your FE1s or your King's Inn, contract, tort, criminal, constitutional. They're really, really interesting stuff. If you look up the main BCL page on DCU, you get a more comprehensive breakdown of those. And then there's a lot more kind of innovative modules. So these are the more niche or more specific or less known aspects of law that you can discuss. And our moot court, so this is in our Henry Grattan building. So you get to go up to, it's actually here, that's a picture of it here. So you get to go up and practice your law or law modules you're discussing. You'll have a prosecutor and a defendant, and you can really practice your education, but as well as your transferable skills like communication, etc. And these are some of our intra partners. I'm sure if you might recognize a couple of these, or maybe you don't, and that's perfectly okay. So Arthur Cox is one of the big law firms, and they'd always hire students for intra placement. And then these are the course details. So it's 3 or 4 years, depending on what you want. And it fluctuates between kind of 470 to 490. And then finally, Niamh, who spoke just before me, probably discussed these as well with you, but I'll just go over a few of them. So law in your Bachelor of Arts, you can choose law and another subject. I think a really cool combination, in my opinion, is law and an international language. Because if you choose to go on and work in the European Union, you need English and another European language. That, of course, could be Irish, but maybe French, German, or Spanish might be something you're interested in. And then the politics course is also really, really cool because it's something actually I'd be quite interested in doing if I could pick again. And then these are just course details even. So the CEO points, and there's an intra-year abroad available in year 3. Before I finish, I just have one top tip. If you need to get more details on any of the courses I discussed here, if you search up DCU International Relations, for example, you'll be able to see our course page, and they'll get a more comprehensive breakdown of what the course is about, what you'll be studying. And then if you have any other questions, various contact emails, which you can ask them. So thanks for your time. I'll finish now.
My name is Ileana, and I am in my 4th year of the jazz degree. I'm studying it through vocals. And yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about the course and tell you kind of what's important about it. I'll tell you my reasons for why I chose it and why I think it was like a good choice for me. And then I'll also take some questions. Maybe you want to take some notes during it if anything pops up and you want to ask more about it and I don't mention it. Okay, so that's the course code there, dcu.ie. And yeah, so I'm going to say a little bit about the program. It is a 4-year honours degree. It's a level 8 degree, and it's specifically made for the performing musician. So yeah, it's really focusing on preparing you for life on the stage, working with bands, working in duos, just kind of that actual interactive part of music. And yeah, and so it'll be preparing you for life as a professional musician. And you will get to study with Ireland's top jazz musicians and educators. Okay. So the course is going to prepare you for a career as a professional performing musician, arranger, composer, music producer, music educator, session musician, etc. There are loads more opportunities, but those are kind of the main ones that everyone is looking for. So those are some of the modules we have. They're kind of like the core ones. Yeah, we have a lot of them. Most of them are going to be the performance modules, the actual practical part of music. I mean, pretty much all of them are. So the ensemble performance, they're going to be the band performance, band classes. So they'll put you into little groups and get you to work on repertoire. And in those classes, you're also going to be focusing on improvisation, which is, yeah, probably my favorite part of the course. Yeah, it's great. And then what else? So we have classes in instrumental technique. So they're going to be, you have your one-on-one, so that'll be you and your teacher, the one that is going to be tutoring you on your instrument. And then you'll also have a lab, which will be with everyone else who's doing your instrument as well. Yeah, what else? And the rhythm studies class, I think that's going to be throughout the 4 years. And composition, you'll kind of go more into composition in the 3rd and 4th year. That's kind of when you start getting really into the advanced side of harmony, arranging. Yeah, and you will be doing music technology, which was really exciting for me because I had no idea. I didn't even know how to use my laptop, so it was really cool knowing how to actually create music on my laptop. And yeah, I really enjoyed it, and yeah, I thought it was very useful. What else? So we do oral training, another class that I actually really liked. So that's working on your intervals, you're like working on your ear, recognizing chord progressions. Yeah, that was one of my favorite classes, and it's kind of like it's just a fun class. The teacher will be on the piano and playing stuff, and just, yeah. So what else? We have classes on arranging, and that'll be, yeah, kind of focusing on harmonies, arranging for horns, arranging for big bands, or just 5-part harmony. Yeah. So there's also classes in performance skills, which we are doing currently in this year, in the 4th year, and jazz history, music cognition, which is kind of like music and the brain. So it's kind of taking a scientific approach. This is an optional subject, but it's a really interesting one. And critical listening. So that's kind of like, you'll be listening to music, and we're going to find out how to properly kind of analyze the music without being, biased and just like, oh, I like that because it sounds, that kind of stuff. So another core module that is not on that is the advanced harmony, and that we did this year, and that was definitely my favorite module of the course. It kind of got you to look at composing harmonic sequences in a very experimental way. So like, instead of just picking something that you hear a lot, like a chord sequence, you would be experimenting and kind of using your own ear, using your own intuition, and making it just very unique to yourself. And I thought that was the best thing I could have done for my composition. Yeah, So the entry requirements application is via CAO. General entry requirements are needed for this university course. Yeah, that's a minimum of 6 Leaving Certificate subjects, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you want to take note of this. So in 2024, the Leaving Cert points were 328. Yeah, but this isn't a huge, it doesn't really matter because the audition is the main thing. And yeah, the audition will be like performance and a little interview. I can talk a little bit about that maybe if you guys have a question, if you want to hear anything specific. I think what I brought to mind was I did a jazz standard, I did Fly Me to the Moon, and then I also did a folk song, a Ukrainian folk song. So that was kind of like I did something jazzy, and then I also did something that was personal to me and that I loved singing. So yeah, I think they really like to see you, like to hear you do something that you like to do, you know, and something that's a little bit personal. Yeah, and then the auditions will take place in March and July. This has to be confirmed, so I think it's best if you double check on the website, which I will, yeah, I'll give you the link to that at the end. Yeah, so this is a really cool part of the course. It offers you the opportunity to transfer your credits into the Berklee College of Music in Boston. And this is one of the most prestigious music schools in the field of contemporary music. So that is a really cool feature. Yeah, we are part of the Berklee Global Partnership, which is, this is a shared endeavor designed to promote the effectiveness of contemporary music education among members and to advance the value of contemporary music education internationally. So through this partnership, DCU has close ties to Berklee and is working with them on many exciting initiatives. And because of this, the Berklee faculty hold workshops regularly at DCU. One of the ones I really liked was an expert on Stevie Wonder came in and talked about how Stevie Wonder would build his compositions, what the relationship to the music and the lyrics, like how that worked and why it worked so well. And that was really interesting. These are other schools that are involved in this Berklee Global Partnership. I won't name them, but maybe if you want to take any note or anything, or maybe take a screenshot, it might be easier. Yeah, I'll let you have a look at that for a second. Okay, so why choose DCU? DCU is has the number one graduate employment rate in Ireland. It won University of the Year in 2021. A lot of internship opportunities, study year abroad opportunities. So yeah, I didn't do a year abroad, but I did a summer program, which is a 5-day summer program in Siena, all expenses paid, and it was working alongside other European jazz course students, and they put us into groups, gave us 3 days to put on a repertoire, and at the end we did a concert, and it was really, really fun. It was one of my favorite experiences of the course. It's really interesting seeing in an international perspective on the music. I thought the approach from the students there was different, and it was really, really beneficial for my learning. Yeah, I came out of it with a lot of new knowledge, even though it was 3 days, and they were amazing musicians. Okay, yeah, the facilities are really, really good. They work closely with industry partners. Number 1 for communications and media studies, top 200 for politics, international studies, linguistics, top 250 for law. I'm sure some of these things were said already. And why choose DCU Jazz? So The focus is completely on performance, and this is extremely important now, and it's growing in importance because of the growth of artificial intelligent technologies. So it's kind of like, I mean, performance is never going to lose its value. It's becoming more valuable, and you're just going to have more success with focusing on the performance aspect. Yeah, they give you many performance opportunities, like the one I did in Siena. Yeah, and there's a jazz society. They always organize events. The teachers, they're always getting you to do gigs, and yeah, there's always just something, like even when I'm not looking for it, feels like there's something organized and someone is letting me know, like, hey, do you want to do this? And it's really, really nice. It's really motivating, instead of you always having to, make that effort. It's like that little, yeah. So what else? Prepares you for master's degrees, high level instrument and vocal training, yeah, and you will acquire the skills to be an international standard performing musician. This is a big one, becoming part of a community of musicians. We are a small course, and throughout the 4 years, you're always interacting with the other years as well. So it's just really nice. Everyone is really close, really open, really friendly. I came into the course knowing no one, and immediately, like, I felt so accepted as a musician, even though I felt like I knew nothing. So that was really, really nice. And everyone's just always motivating each other. We're always like looking to jam, always being like, if there's a crack in the door and you hear someone jamming, everyone just like kind of walks into the room and they're like, yeah, let's join in. And it's just really, really fun. And yeah, it's a fun community. I think that's it. Yeah, if you want to find out more, go to www.dcu.ie/jazz, or you can contact our chair, Cormac O'Brien, at dcu.ie, or Laura Guilfoyle at dcu.ie.
So sure, Funtar agus Scum na Gaeilge, Gná agus Gaeilge, so business in Irish in the School of Enterprise in Irish in DCU. Those are some of the information. This going now. There we go, sorry. Sure, right, then module Gná so chorus economics agus politics, so economics and politics. Hilvan is multimedia, Funtracht is entrepreneurship, then we have Banistíocht agus Agarhach, Margaíocht, Líonraí agus Gná Digitach, Tlí agus Riachtain is Corporádach, Banistíocht ach fan Argages, Bunú Fiuntar nua, Anlíseach Gná ach fan Fiuntar agus Ríomhreachtáil. So there's a big broad there. So marketing, Margaíocht, you've Tlí, which is law, you've Banistíocht ach fan Argages is like accounting and finance, and then Bunú Fiuntar is our big capstone module where you have to literally make a business from scratch and you kind of take everything in that you're doing and all the other ones, and then Gaeilge for the rest of them. And here's the module Gaeilge, so the Changa, that's Grammajoch, Changoliacht, Nuafrose, Nuiliacht agus na Heuron, Litriocht and Shocht agus Uchte Guish, Bailages, and Scaleocht Tradiisiúnta agus an Gearscale, Scale na Gaeilge, Afiochán agus Athnuachán, an Sohangoliacht, Meán Cumarsáid na Gaeilge, Astracán agus Agahóracht, Animoliacht agus Termoliacht na Gaeilge. And then as well, we have an intra program with us as well. You have jobs in banking, private sectors such as Aer Lingus, done stores. I actually worked in Volvo. That's me there in the picture with the car that I got off them. Then you can go into Cúntasaíocht, which is counting with companies such as PwC, Deloitte, KPMG, EY, many other ones, Grant Thornton, and Sorella. Target Gaeilge, come on, you can work with Conor na Gaeilge, you can work with TG Carr in their business side of things, Air on Tave, Irish Oracht, come on, Radio na Lifa, Radio na Gaeilge, come on, And then Corla Corach Bailach Lea, one of the girls in my year, worked in Dublin City Council promoting Irish around the city. Now here's some of the massiúnachtaí that you might do. Tá saoirse agat lena massiúnachtaí, so tá sais tá saoirse agat rogha leis an rogha bhfuil tú dhéanamh, so is féidir leat payroll bhfuil tú géirí like Steve Grace on an seo nó blog is féidir leat iad dhéanamh ar payroll a míon leat like is cuma tá saoirse sin agat an cuid is mó den am. Leis an ghnó leis an taobh ghnó tá sé Harbh má like tá siad fear soon soccer really like it's come like áras a bhfuil taithí má agat á úsáid agus go chuna úsáid sa fear saoil mar hapla si Grace an cruthú is cum le cad a dhéanaan tú anas bhfuil sé caiid an má déanaan tú astí ar nó agus scrúdathe níl mór an scrúdathe ná an fairness ach tá roiint ar trí nó carací ar an ceir bhlíon. Then do MCQ and as a multi-choice questions. Then do piece beag mata leis an argages. Anna cuid cur láthair le ein rud a denan tú cur láthair agus 6 pence a hón or that I dhéanamh na ra mé gobar den le bháb am lín caite bhí mé fear buíchas cos bhí na skill na cur láthair agam an sa chéad agus dar bhíon bhí mé leis tuairt amach rá céim fáil go learn cur láthair dhéanamh an tamar fád ach bhí sé Harbheith ceach nar thu mé amach gobar sa fear saoil. Then to screw the cainte agat gach bhliain agus an then dúirt go bhhanú chumá sin an cean mór. So céim fáil gur peoch mis an chuirsa seo. Cnéanar an níor ah clúgam chu raibh mé gur dhéanamh san óscoil bhí simime gom an gná ar scóil do Gaeilge líomh agamsa. Tá den angóisteach sa múntóireacht tá den angóisteach mar dúirt mé hanas níor ná príomháideach ar ná pablií ar ná Gaeilge payroll bhfuil tú rilí géirí. Is féidir le roint masters dhéanamh chumá. Tá mé sé ag breanú ar masters san airgeages fi láthair, so tá sé éis mé chur an áit jazzúir sin. Dána go deis na postna agus líonraí le daoine si nó daoine san ar ná Gaeilge chumá, so do rointseo daoine búil agamsa ar aonos bhfuil pól acu tríd an chóirsa so sin Harbheith ceara. Tá sé in Pats in Glasnéan ar in Drumconra, so tá sé Harbheith éasca le go chuig an campus is féile muinta bíon me roiíocht nó tomána isteach de carclós an. Is féidir le bus train nó darta á tá sé Harbheith éasca agus orintanta bíon deisina do roir a fáil deise an cumá. Tá anna cuid cuman in DCU, cuman Gaeilge an, tá cuman club CLG, anna cuid dúirí eile, cuman ggóir payroll a bhfuil sim a go an. Agus níos móna céad a ceir go clubna agus cuman san óscoil cumála sin taon gnágus Gaeilge ar turas táide go dtí Aaron Mór an Gaeltacht an dún lá il an Gaeltachta some crack taon tú hall I gcóir deir seachna ar aonos agus déanann tú obair an sin le obair táide atá go dtí ras chuig an rang agus taon tú amach tar éis agus bíonn sé cracked an céad go. Cumála sin tá anna go rudaí deasa in DCU mar hampla an seomra VR an sin. To turn pitch ar bunú fiúntar ar businesses where you have to make a pitch in front of investors like Dragon's Den, so to sin Harbheith cearach dún taithí á agus níl ar an aine tar seach na bhéine just chuint an headset air tá sé go bra. So fustíocht a chéim sa bhliain fé trucha bei ar fé fan géid an Airlan Pibli a bheith lífa sa Gaeilge, so má tú géirí go seach in aonrad stáitsurví smúntareacht Astraán idirchas Gaeltacht tuairteoirt an Commission Thorpa agus a bhád níos móna sin má bhfuil Gaeilge lífa agat nó bhfuil céim baint amach go sa Gaeilge bei chusan ar an agatsa agus Tíonál Johnach ferbert na Gaeilge, ferbert fóbal chunar na Gaeilge, glór na Gael, údras na Gaeltachta agus Israel chumá an den Airlan Pibli mar dúirt mé argadí is banistíocht margaíocht den a gobar le cholachtaí cosúil Aer Lingus, AIB, Facebook, Gael Culture, Windsor Motors, fáil an mar me se péimrondul tú lí géirí tá anna go deisna an. So mai ceiste ggéine chur híos an níisiad nó sin mór rífust an sin nó sin rífust an óscoil má bhfuil éon ceisna eile ggéine. Bhuiine agah?
So hello everyone, I'm Frannick and I'm a second year student studying a bachelor's in climate and environmental sustainability here in DCU. And the CEO code, as you can see, is D294 if anyone is interested in checking it out on the website for more details. So just for a brief overview of the course itself, it is a 3 to 4 year degree with an optional paid intra placement or Erasmus in your third year, and it is a level 8. As of this year, it stands at 431 points, and it is general entry requirements, so you don't need any specific subjects. You should have studied like probably history or geography to get into the program. It is just a general entry. So some areas of the learning would include climate science, physical geography, ecology, marine biology, environmental policy, human geography, sustainable urban development, and geology. So as you can see yourselves, it is very broad. It does touch on aspects of policy. It goes deep into geography in itself, and you can even go into science and into various other sciences such as ecology, into climate science itself, into weather studies and stuff like that. So it is a very broad program that, obviously the opportunity to get yourself like a taste of what it is to work in these different fields, and it gives you a lot of room to explore and develop your interest in here. One thing that I really personally like about the program is the small group course. There's around 22 people in my group in my year because I'm in second year, and we get to know each other really, really well. It is a diverse group of people. We have a lot of international students. We have a lot of mature students as well. You might be surprised. And we all really get to mingle and get to know each other very well. And it's very interesting being able to see everyone's perspective that everyone comes from different walks of life into our degree and how we can work together. And obviously, this being a program that's focused on climate and environment and the climate crisis that's happening right now, there are a lot of future jobs, and there's very high demand in various sectors to have the skill set that this program offers. So here are a few possible career opportunities. These would include a climate scientist, sustainable manager, environmental consultant, data analyst, resource manager, researcher, corporate social responsibility manager, strategic change manager, and conservation manager. These are just some examples of programs, or like programs, I should say, jobs that you can do with the focus of this degree. But one thing that I really like about it is that this program is a DCU Futures program, meaning that it offers you basically you develop skills in the program that help you go into different fields. So if you want to do a master's in something that's similar to this program, or even a bit more, for example, to international relations, like sustainable politics or something on an international level, you're able to bring in skills from your bachelor's in this program into your master's and even into other fields that are completely unrelated. So it is a very much flexible program that offers you the skills you need within it and in your master's and if you want to go into something else in the future. So I'm just going to give you a brief run through a few modules and things that you can expect from first to third year. So obviously first year is very much introduction based. Like you can see in the titles of a lot of these modules, we have introduction to sustainability, the concept of it, environmental spatial analysis, which is basically just like analyzing data on a program on a computer. You get to use software such as ArcGIS, Google Earth Pro, and stuff like that. We really get to learn how to use these programs to analyze the physical landscape of the areas that we are studying. We get to look at sustainable cities in the second semester, where you sort of analyze sustainability on a more urban level. Um, and we obviously have an introduction to biogeography and ecology, and this is where the sciences part of it comes in, as I was saying earlier. You really get just even looking at the introduction of all these modules, you really get a taste of everything you can probably go into. It's analysis, it's ecology and sciences, it's focusing on geography. There's a bit of history in here as well. So it's a really, really broad program. And you can see this continuing into second year, which I'm in right now. Like last semester on the left, we were looking at evolution of Ireland's physical landscape, which is sort of building on the module that we were doing in semester one of first year, which was Introduction to Human Geography and Hazardous Earth. And it really just keeps building on what on top of your learning. So it's not like you learn something in year one and you kind of just forget about it and you learn something different. You build the skills and the various modules that we have year by year build on what you learned before, and you just sort of develop an interest in it as you go. And as you can see in the second semester, we have a sustainability field trip. And one of the pros of the year two of this program is you get to go abroad. This isn't even part of the Erasmus or the intro. It is just an integrated part of the program itself. So in a few months' time, myself and my cohort are going to be going to the Netherlands for a week. We're going to be cooperating with students from the University of Helsinki and the University of Utrecht, and probably a few from Germany as well. And we're going to be doing a lot of environmental spatial analysis, especially of the physical landscape. We're going to be doing a lot of sample testing, a lot of field work pretty much, if you want to put it that way. So that's a really cool part of our program where you get to go abroad for a week in the year two and really get to get that hands-on experience of working in the field while also being able to collaborate with students from other universities across Europe. And obviously, in your final year, you're going to be writing your dissertation, and obviously, it's your final year, so you have to. And but you're also, as you can see by the titles of the modules, you're really going to be focusing more and more on a niche of what you've been learning. So, for example, instead of looking at general, for example, environmental analysis of a resource, you're specifically looking at water resource management, or you're looking at nature-based solutions. So instead of actually being taught the issues or the consequences, you really get to look at the solutions from a different aspect of it altogether. Even look at environmental philosophy, which is very broad. You have challenge-based learning from transformative change, environmental systems, and you get to do a sustainability research project. So as you can see, it is a very broad program. I keep reiterating it, but I really do mean it when you get to really experience the various parts of sustainability, of climate, of environmental analysis, all these different aspects. So here are just a few, here's just a snapshot of a few opportunities and projects that you can get up to in our program. In the top left, you have Leo Carroll. He was a former member of our program, and he's currently doing his master's in entomology, which is the study of insects in the University of Reading in the UK. At the bottom left here, I was fortunate enough to be involved in the Antashka Climate Ambassador Program this last year, and I was very lucky enough to be among the Outstanding Award Achievements winners in the program. And as you can see here, it's just a few snapshots of us goofing around and enjoying ourselves in the course. We were asked here with the book just beside that picture to look for a book in the library, and our professor told us to stick a funny picture with a few people we don't know. So it was a great chance to get to know people from other programs, and we had to send that to her an email. It was actually an assignment, so it was pretty ironic. Oh, sorry, I just went there ahead. I'm not sure if this was actually Leo or this was someone else, but in first year you get to do a 30-day sustainability challenge as part of your as an assignment. So basically you pick an SDG and you have to basically live for 30 days while documenting it in a blog style way of how that contributes to that SDG or helps hit his targets. And I think it was Leo because he's interested in insects. He chose to go on a fully insect-based diet, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. But that's just sort of his way of how he wanted to interpret the challenge. I personally took cold showers for 30 days, which isn't as interesting, but yeah. So that's just the sort of stuff you can get up to in our program. It's just whatever you want to do, you really get to experience it or do it. Here on the in the top left as well, you can see us on a field trip. We were analyzing the sort of flora and fauna that can be found in the environment. This was in Dunboyne in County Meath. And in the top right, you can see us just posing with lab coats. We were analyzing sediment data that we would have gathered from Malahide Beach when we did a survey there a week beforehand. So why should you choose this course? Education on climate change is crucial at this time. As we know, this is a very relevant topic and a lot of career opportunities exist here. So going into a degree which focuses on it is very much highly employable, and you get to develop really interesting and relevant skills in this field. Just like I said, the job opportunities are endless. You acquire skill sets that are essential to finding solutions for climate change, and obviously to, like I said, you get assessed on transversal skills that you can apply to various other programs, and you can really go from there if you want to. And overall, it's a very interactive and educational course. It is very much hands-on since we're a small class size as well. The lecturers get to know us very well. At the end of semester one, first year, the lecturers knew me by name. We got to have conversations outside of the outside of class. It's a really great. It's like a small community that you really develop over the 4 years. Even after the first year, we're all really close. So this is really cool. And here I'm just going to give you a brief rundown of some opportunities that we have for Erasmus and Intra. So the top three I'd be looking at if you are interested in doing Intra in this program are Prague, Malta, and Sofia in Bulgaria. And those are the three that I know are constantly available to students. I'm personally interested in going to Prague for Erasmus. For Utrecht in the Netherlands, that isn't probably as available. That's what I put limited there because I think there's 2 spots available this year, but it is subject to change. And for the 2 universities at the bottom of Berlin and Rennes in France, a language is required. So you need to be able to speak French and German because some modules will be presented through that language. So it's very important to have those two. And I'm not too familiar on the intra opportunities because this is a very diverse. They keep changing every year. It depends on the relationships that develop with the professors and the course itself and different companies. But I know a few students would have done their intra in Department of Climate, Energy and Environment in the government. I know a girl currently in her final year. She would have been doing an internship in I think, in the sustainability department of Dublin City Council. And there's so many more in various companies that you can look for. Pretty much like I was saying, like nearly every company requires a sustainability intern or someone with that skill set. They can take you on. And you can also just contact DCU's Career and Intra office to learn more as well. I know you can also source your own internships in third year. That obviously requires self-research because DCU doesn't help you with that. But I remember hearing that one student from our degree managed to get an internship abroad in Singapore for the year, which I think is really, really cool. And obviously, with our program, you also have a lot of time to spend outside of the lectures, and it's really a great time to really develop self-learning skills because this program is a mix of exams and a lot of continuous assessment. So that means you get a nice balance of both. And developing these skills, such as being able to manage your time correctly, learn on your own, anything along those lines is very important. You can use a lot of available resources we have to learn online. The lectures provide a lot of great primary and secondary sources you can avail from, such as key readings, scientific journals. They all provide them throughout the degree, so you have a lot of resources to get and use throughout your studies. Obviously, join clubs and societies. I'm personally in a lot of societies in international relations, in the Climate Action Society, in the Charity Society that we have in the university. It's a great chance to really get to know other people and from other programs and really enhance your student life on campus. And obviously, set aside time for breaks and socializing, which is a big part of the program itself. And consider broadening your interest and consider new opportunities in year one and forward, because in DCU we offer a lot of opportunities for students, not just in their niche of in their programs and their clubs and stocks. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do abroad. There's a lot of volunteering opportunities. There's a lot of programs and leadership opportunities within the university itself. So definitely do your research if you're interested in going to DCU and see what opportunities we offer in the university. And some supplementary activities include the likes of getting involved in local initiatives and sustainability groups. Personally, I would have gotten a bit involved in the Bohemians Football Club Climate Cooperative, which is in Fitzborough, just down the road from DCU. That's just through the Climate Action Society. So it's a great way to also get to know your local area. If you're not from Dublin and you're moving into Northern Dublin for DCU, it's a great chance to sort of get to know your local groups, what's happening locally. It's a really great way to sort of integrate yourself into the local community here in Dublin. And obviously look into summer internships and positions in related fields abroad as well. Even though we do offer intra in third year, you are very much free to apply to internships and search for job opportunities and ways to gain experience during the summer and during your free time as well. And yeah, just pursue topics of interest both within your course and outside of it. Because like I keep reiterating this, but there really is a degree that offers so much opportunity within the field of focus that it is itself and beyond. So I think that's everything that I can cover here. I think that there's not much more I can talk about. That's just a broad thing that I can mention for the degree itself. So if you have any questions, pop them down and I'll try to answer them. Or yeah.
Thank you so much, Frannick. For like a new course, it really, I think, is holding its own in terms of what it's offering you guys. And I loved you said at the start, like it's a course about solutions. So it's not actually like, we know there's a lot of issues with climate change. We know all the bad things that are going on, but you guys are actually working to see what we can do in a tangible way to help, which is a nice spin on it. You know, it's a positive take. And you're saying you're working with like a university in the Netherlands, or you're in the Netherlands and working with people from Finland and Norway. Just such collaboration, which again is what it's going to take to make sure that we can fix all this climate change and stuff.